Everybody knows that God Wars Dungeon 1 is the bread and butter on learning how to boss inside of RuneScape. But instead of learning how to properly learn how to PvM, I'm actually here to showcase how you can AFK Kree'arra on normal mode and hard mode. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, make sure you stay tuned. Let's dive in. So in this video, I'm going to be splitting up hard mode and normal mode. So if you're looking for normal mode or hard mode specifically, make sure you skip around the video and find what you need. Now we will be starting off with the requirements for hard mode. First off, you will need 70 plus range in order to be able to go into the arena with Kree'arra. You will also need 60 plus agility or 60 plus strength in order to be able to get over a boulder for the God Wars dungeon entrance. Following that up, we have 90 plus combat stats. We are going to be using magic and not necromancy for this, since necro is starting to get a little annoying over time, and I want to start showcasing how to do other combat styles. So 90 plus in magic, constitution, and defense. You will need 92 plus prayer, since we will be using the deflect curses along the way. 85 plus invention, so you can have ancient gizmos unlocked just in case you want to perk out your gear. 118 plus archaeology for the relic powers we will be talking about here in a little bit, and 117 plus herblore for the elder overload salves. As for the quests, you will need partial completion of Troll Stronghold in order to be able to get to the area where the God Wars dungeon entrance is at. Following that up, we have the Temple S intestines, so you have your curses unlocked, and the way the path works with all the questing to get that one done, we will have the Ancient Magicka unlocked as well. Now for the requirements for normal mode, everything is the same for the quests, and it's the same for the 70 plus range and the 60 plus agility or strength. Now the difference is you only need 80 plus combat stats, since we are using magic. Again, that is magic, constitution, and defense. You will still need to have 92 plus prayer, since we do need to have soul split to be able to make this a fully AFK method. You will also need only 97 plus herblore, so you can make overload salves instead of the elder overload salves as well. As for the recommended, I highly recommend having 114 plus invention, so you can create potion reservoirs, so you can make this a super AFK-able method. Next, I have Stone of Jaws buff. If you have it unlocked, you will gain an additional 5% damage buff while facing Kree'arra. After that, I highly suggest having this on a Slayer task with the Slayer helm on the Anachronia Slayer helm stand. You will gain additional damage as well just for being on task with the avian seas. And the last one I have for the recommended, I highly recommend getting a Totem of Intimidation up and set inside of Anachronia, so you can skip the initial kill count to be able to open up the big door for the Kree'arra fight. Now for the gear setup, we are going to be using the minimal gear that you need to be able to AFK Kree'arra. So for hard mode, you will need at least 3 pieces of crippling, being the helm, gloves, and boots, along with tectonic robe top and robe bottom. For the aura, we will be using a vampirism aura. As for the cape, we will be using a Zuck cape, since this is a hard mode boss. For the amulet slot, we are going to be using the blood amulet of fury. For the ring slot, we do have the luck of the dwarves, but if you guys are having trouble keeping up with damage, you can easily swap in a reaver's ring there. For the ammo slot, we do have a grasping rune pouch for all of the runes that we are going to be using for extenuate. As for the weapons, you will be using the wand of Persal and the Imperium core. Now for the pocket slot, we will be using a Scripture of When God book. Now for normal mode, we are going to be swapping up a good little bit of gear setup here. For the gear, you will be using a subjugation robe armor set. For the aura, we will be using a penance aura. For the cape, all you need is just your max cape or a reef walker cape, whatever you have if you are not maxed. For the amulet slot, we are still going to be using a blood amulet of fury. For the ring slot, we still have luck with the dwarves here. If you do have the reaver's ring unlocked, you can easily use that as well. For the ammo slot, again, we have our grasping rune pouch with the runes in it to cast extenuate. As for the weapons, we will have the wand and orb of Cywir elders, and again for the pocket slot, we do have the Scripture of When God book. Now for your inventory, it's basically going to be the same, and that's going to be your potion reservoirs, your elder overload salves, or your overload salves for normal mode if that's what you are using. Your magic note paper, your Calgarian demon binding contract, your seedicide, herbicide, bone crusher, spring cleaner, enhanced Excalibur, and an ancient elven ritual shard. The only difference with hard mode is you will have to use Powder of Penance just for the way the setup is going to be for your prayer renewal, along with having another Grasp and Ruin pouch in there with runes in it for you to be able to cast Animate Dead. Now, your revolution bar is basically going to be the same, but for hard mode, you're going to go greater concentrated blast, sunshine, dragon breath, greater chain, wild magic, asphyxiate, sacrifice, and rack. Now, for normal mode, you do not need greater concentrated blast. You do not need greater chain as well. It would just be concentrated blast, sunshine, dragon breath, chain, wild magic, asphyxiate, sacrifice, and rack. Now, relic powers are going to be associated with hard mode and hard mode only, since you don't need any relic powers to be able to do normal mode Kree'arra. So that's going to go as Death Ward, Conservation of Energy, and Fury of the Small, which is super key for this method to work on hard mode Kree'arra. Now, no matter what mode you are fighting, it is all going to be the same. However you get to Kree'arra, you're going to get into the area. If you have to, kill 40 and then run through the big door. Now, before you start an instance, this is exactly the spot that you're going to get everything activated. So for hard mode, that would be your Vampirism Aura, your Scripture of Wind God Book, your Potion Reservoir with your Elder Overload Salve inside of it, your Powder of Penances. Then you're going to go down, you're going to click your Animate Dead along with Deflect Range and Deflect Range only. And as for normal mode, all you have to do is activate your Penance Aura, your Scripture of Wind God Book. You're going to activate your Potion Reservoir. You're going to throw in your Overload Salve or your Elder Overload Salve, depending on what you are using. Then you're going to activate only Soul Split. Then you're going to start an instance and you're going to select either hard mode or your normal mode, of course, and you're going to walk through the door. As soon as you walk through the door, you're going to then summon your Calgarian demon, because if you don't, it's going to be stuck on the other side of the instance and it's not going to do any benefits for you whatsoever. Now, once you get into the instance, you're going to stand exactly in the doorway. You are not going to move. Your magic weapons will reach all the way across to the AVSN that you see all the way stuck at the top as well. Now, the main reason you want to stand in the doorway, as you see, Kree'arra will send off a bunch of storms over the battlefield. And with you standing in the doorway, you will not be hit by a single one of those, even when Kree'arra does its little invulnerable state, to where he summons all of the storms to him and then sends it all off to attack you in all sorts of ways. No matter what, as long as you are standing in this doorway, those storms will not hit you. Now, during normal mode, you may realize that Kree'arra does not send out any storms, but I highly suggest still standing in this doorway, since Kree'arra still sends off a whirlwind, which will push you across the entire spot. Also, if you are planning to do hard mode in the future, it is nice to have a little habit like this so you don't go off onto the other side of the arena and get smacked by all the storms. Now, while doing this AFK style, you will have to pay attention to your potion reservoirs, which will be every 36 minutes, along with your animate dead, which will be every 12 minutes. And of course, you cannot forget about the loot. Now, for the experience that you can gain while doing hard mode Kree'arra, you're looking at about 285,000 combat XP, 223,000 Slayer XP when you're on a Slayer task, or you can even be using wildcards, and you'll be looking at about 95,000 Constitution per hour. As for normal mode, you will be killing Kree'arra a lot more often than hard mode, so you're expecting around 340,000 combat XP during your hour, along with 168,000 Slayer XP, again, if you're using wildcards or on a Slayer task. You are also expected around 123,000 Constitution XP per hour. Now, for the GP you can make in that hour for hard mode, you're looking at about 3 million GP per hour. That's also included with all of your expenses with your ruins and your powder of penances. Now, for normal mode, you're looking at about 7 million GP per hour. You're getting more kills and you're not using powder of penances along the way. So what I'm going to say here is, if you want to make GP by just AFKing a simple boss, do normal mode. But if you're chasing after log, hard mode is definitely the way to go, especially if you're chasing after the Kree'arra pet. Now, all of these numbers are not including the Armadillo armor set, along with the Guardwood shards with the hilt, which the drop rates are not bad. I was able to get a couple pieces along the way myself. So with that included, you can definitely bump up your GP per hour by getting those drops. But that does come into this video. If you guys found anything useful or interesting, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys are brand new to the channel and would like to see more AFK methods like this AFK Kree'arra, make sure to hit that sub button. Also hit that bell notification so you guys know when I upload next. But until next time, guys, I hope you stay safe. See ya.